Well, I'm one of the men more commonly known as the Birmingham Six. My name is Paddy Hill, and I spent 16 and a half years of my life in prison for what is more commonly known as the Birmingham pub bombings, a crime I never committed.
What are the qualities, I mean, you spent a lot of time in prison unjustly, what are the qualities you need to kind of survive that?
The qualities you need? Well, we all handle it different ways. Like with me, when I first went into prison, to put it bluntly, I just didn't give a fuck. Prison changes you, and it changes you very, very subtly. You don't even know you're being changed. I try to tell people, prison's hard enough for the guilty person, but for people like me who were, like, I've been in prison before, so prison was I was no stranger to prison. I'm no stranger to violence. I have a number of previous convictions myself for violence, etc. To me, violence is just another way of life. People that I was involved with violence, like when I cut people up, was other gang members and what have you and all the crap, you know. So we didn't involve innocent people, like that had nothing to do with it. But in prison, suddenly you're waking up, and with me anyway, and I know a lot, the same thing happens to you, so many other people, and you don't know when it happens, but it happens, and suddenly an incident will happen, and then you realize just how much you've changed yourself, like, and when that incident happens, you then see just how far you are prepared to go. And with me, I didn't give a fuck. Life didn't mean nothing to me. If I had carried on the way I was going, I would end up killing people in prison. I tried to kill people, I tried to kill prison officers. You just don't give a fuck. And that's what it's all about in prison, because prisons are not prisons. What you must remember, prisons are nothing more than human rubbish dumping bins, and that's exactly what you are. And you get a lot of people coming from Broadmoor, Rampton, etc., and they come back into the prison system because there's nothing they can do with them. And life to these people, taking someone's life is like taking a cup of tea to them, and you've got to live with that, and you've just got to be as mad as the next fucker, and that's just the way it is. You just don't care.
You've spent time now running some organisation now. Tell us a bit about that.
Since I come out, my life has been dedicated to helping other people who are in prison, find themselves in the same circumstances I was, being fitted up by the cops, etc. And when I come out of prison, I said that the trend I'd seen in the 80s as it was building up, that more and more people were going to prison, and more innocent people were going to find themselves in prison. And 10 years ago, that's what I predicted in my first speech in Manchester, public speech. And I'd love to say that predicament was wrong, but it came true. And at the present moment, we have approximately just over 4,000 people in this country who are claiming they're innocent. And what you call it, there is no help, there's no organisation to help any innocent person in this country. And never mind what this government says about the CCRC, that's another government whitewash, nothing more, nothing less. And I set up an organisation, and with a number of other people, we've set up an organisation that hopefully will help people like me, because when I started it, there was no help for any of us, and what have you. And we've seen the inadequacies of the system. We've got one of the most rottenest, corrupted, perverted systems in the world, second to none. And I'm not saying that just to be bitchy. I would love to stand here and say that we have a wonderful system, but we haven't. We have a system that is totally out of control. We have a police force in this country that's totally unaccountable to us, the public, who pay for their wages. Our servants, the police, have got more rights than we have. They're the only people in the country today who practice the right to silence. They have the audacity to tell us the crime doesn't pay, but for all the crooked cops, and let me tell you something, there's been over 1,000 of us released in the last 12 years from the courts, and not one crooked cop has gone to jail. Not one has even stood trial. And most of them have retired on the grounds of ill health, with 80% inflation-proof pensions, and then they have the audacity to tell us the crime doesn't pay. It pays well if you're a crooked cop in this country, believe me, and no further action is taken against them. And this is what, you know, this is the things that we are combating, and the evidence which people are being convicted in our courts is diabolical. Our judges are unaccountable. They allow things to happen in court that defy common sense and logic. They come out with statements that are totally astounding, and they too are not accountable for anything that they say or do. Well, I don't mind that, but one thing I do say is that according to the so-called democracy that we have in this country, that we're all supposed to be equal under the eyes of the law, the letter of the law. And if that is perfectly true, I don't mind being held accountable for my actions. I've always weighed up the pros and cons of what I was going to do. If I'd done it, I knew what was facing me. I was quite prepared to take it. I knew what it would result in. But if I'm going to be held accountable for my actions, and so is all of us, the public, then the very least we should have is our servants being held accountable for their actions. And if that is not happening, then believe me, we're not living in a democracy. What we're living in this country is a subtle form of dictatorship.